post about being on the Blox, but you haven't heard the full behind-the-scenes story until now.
Welcome to Love, Business, and Luggage, where relationships, careers, and adventures take off. Today's episode is all about Monica's big adventure on the Blox, the nation's largest entrepreneurial competition.
I'm Monica, a nurse practitioner, author, business owner, and apparently a reality TV star now.
And she will remind me of it. And I'm Clayton, a cybersecurity guy who cheered from the sidelines and tried not to bite my nails the whole time.
We'll share behind-the-scenes stories, what the cameras didn't show, and the lessons I brought home from competing. Let's take off.
So, Monica, I think a lot of people are probably out there saying, what is this show, The Blox? Because it's not something that shows up on one of the big broadcasting stations. So tell me a little bit about it. And for our listeners, how did you even hear about it, for instance?
Yeah, so I was on season 18 of The Blox, which is an entrepreneurial competition that is put on by Wes Bergman, who is a longtime reality TV star. For those of you in my age bracket, he was on The Challenge on MTV. It was really where he got his start. But in his career side, he started an incubator for business owners. And as a kind of offshoot of that, he created this reality TV show.
And the incubator was called Beta Blox, if I'm right.
Correct,
Okay.
Yes. And by the way, Blox is spelled B-L-O-X. And so he puts on this show where he brings around 100 to 120 entrepreneurs from across the country to Tulsa, Oklahoma, and you do 5 days of business recording. And you do all these competitions. So every day starts with a 2-hour lecture on some form of business topic, whether that be copywriting to tech stack to raising venture capital money. And after the lecture, everyone gets put into pods. So there's about 10 different judges or mentors there who have either been on the Blox before or are deemed successful business owners, I suppose. Sure. And you split up into pods, and there's a challenge where you have 15 minutes to create a 3-minute pitch on certain parameters based off of that day's topic, yes. And then after that, you do a 15-minute consult with each of the judges. And then at the end of the day, the judge in your pod chooses whoever was the best based off of scoring.
And I bet that's a pretty stressful process for you.
I mean, yeah, so after you do, so the whole afternoon is pitches and then consults in your pods. And it's like 4 hours of straight just people talking and talking about the topic. And then you go to dinner. And then you come back to the big main stage and they get on the stage and announce who is the winner of each pod. And then each of those winners has to go do another pitch, game, pop quiz, something on the stage in front of 120 people.
Well, and before we get to kind of the outcomes of your experience day by day, though, how did you decide to apply to this? How did you even hear about the Blox? And did you know what you were getting yourself into?
I did when I went. So I initially heard about the Blox because a patient of mine, shout out to Derek, was going to be on the Blox. And I had seen him a few days prior. And he told me about this show. So I, of course, went home and Googled it and watched a full season. And in that season, there were at least 2 things that I learned just from watching that season that I immediately applied to my business.
Sure.
And so that kind of spiked my interest. But then Derek came back and we had lunch and he just raved about how great it was and what a great experience it was and how much he learned from it and the great networking he got. And so he encouraged me to apply. And so I did. And then I did some interviews. There's a written application, and then you have to do some video recording, and then you have to do a live interview with one of their casting people. And then I got an email that I got accepted.
Well, and for me, I was surprised at how quick. I mean, you literally came home from a lunch and said, hey, there's this thing, and I'm thinking about applying for it. And then there were a series of meetings, and it was no time before you were selected. Now, I don't want to say that that's everyone's experience. It could have just been the timing of when the taping of the show was taking place. It could have been, I don't know. I would like to think the quality of your application, but it went quick, didn't it?
It did. And I applied in, let's call it April, and then I was on the show in August. So as far as like prep goes, I watched a couple of seasons. That's really all I did, just so I had a clue of what was going on. And I think it definitely prepared me. And when you apply for it, they say, do not apply for this unless you've actually watched the show. Because they don't just want people applying that have no clue what this is about. So
Well, you and I watch Big Brother, and I think we've seen a celebrity Big Brother where there was a celebrity that had literally, I think it was Lamar Odom. He had literally never seen the show. He didn't know what he signed up to do.
Right.
So yeah, you don't want that experience.
For sure.
You had met with Derek, so at least he gave you a little bit about what to expect. But what was kind of your personal goal for even going into this? Because it wasn't fame and fortune, I don't think.
I mean, maybe it was. No, it definitely was not. I definitely wanted to go to learn. And I do love to network and meet new people, so that's always fun. From the competition side of it, I will never admit that I'm going somewhere to win something, because then I set myself up for failure. To say I left here thinking nothing about the competition would be a lie. And anybody who tells you they did go into it without thinking anything, I think is also a lie. But I would never have been like, oh yeah, I'm going to go win, because then if I didn't win, that would be a giant failure. And if you know anything about me, failure is my biggest fear. And so that was not going to happen. But yeah, I was really just going to learn and educate myself and become a better business owner.
That's awesome. So I actually don't think that I remember this. How did you figure out you were chosen? Was it an email? I mean, I know they didn't show up with, a big check or a big banner, which would have been just amazing. But do you recall how you figured out that you'd been selected?
Well, there was a camera with a key. No. Oh, wait, that's Big Brother.
Yeah, wrong one, which you were not applying for, by the way.
Absolutely not. It would be terrible at Big Brother. No, I got an email that said,
okay,
congratulations, you've been accepted, and here are your options for recordings.
What was your emotion at that time? Was it excited, or was it like, oh my gosh, what did I just get myself into? I've got to now go tell Clay that I'm going to go on a reality show.
I mean, I was excited because it's like, oh, I just got accepted into this thing. And apparently they have 10 to 14,000 applications for every season. And so it kind of made me feel like I was special, which is always great. But then it also was like, oh crap, now I have to go pretend I know what I'm doing in this thing called business.
Do you have any fears going into this?
Yeah, 100% that I would get on a stage and fall flat on my face. Like, you're in a room with other...
So physical comedy was your main concern? Falling on your face? Or do you mean like...
No, like, you stand up in front of all these people and you just are terrible, right?
I see.
And I've done a lot of public speaking in my day, so I wasn't super concerned about it. But also, you just never know. And I'm in a business competition with people who are supposed to be running businesses, and I'm a nurse, so I'm not supposed to be doing this. And so it was like, well, crap, I'm not sure what I bit off here.
So you arrive. First of all, for people that don't know, where does the filming take place?
It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the Osage, I'm not sure how to say that, casino. So I left here. It was actually our son's 9th birthday and his first day of 4th grade. And I had to be on a plane at 7 a.m. So I woke him up, sang happy birthday, and then got in an Uber and went to the airport. And so I arrived in Tulsa. We were told to go to some meeting place. And I finally found the people. And one of the first people I met was actually a lovely gentleman named Evan. And what I didn't realize was that Evan would turn out to become one of my best friends. Mm-hmm. He was very kind and offered to carry my luggage, and I was like, okay, I don't know who you are. Redhead guy with glasses. But yeah, so that was the first person I really met was Evan.
And if you haven't watched the show, actually one of your bigger competitors though, too.
100%.
Yeah.
Damn that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. So you arrive, you get there. When did you actually, from that time that you got there, which I guess let's call it probably noon. 1 o'clock or so, you get there. What time did filming start?
So everyone was assigned a time to do their initial intro. So everyone's guaranteed a minute on the show, regardless of how you do, because they do an intro of who you are, where you're from. You're supposed to send some B-roll in. So everyone is assigned a time sometime during that day. And I was one of the first ones to arrive. Obviously, I had an early flight out. And so I had to do my recording at, I think it was 2:30. And then we all had dinner together at 6. And that was the first time we all came together. And then right after dinner, we did orientation where Wes got on the stage, introduced us to all the judges, and then kind of talked us through how the days were going to go.
So I'm actually going to ask you to tell us the result of the competition right now, because I think it structures most of our conversation going forward is about your experience. So let's drop the lead here. How did it end?
Spoiler alert, I got first place.
Whoa.
Winner.
And she has, for the last year, made sure that I remember it every day.
Reality TV star champion right here. That's right.
It's really hard to win an argument when she can just look at you and go, Clay, I'm a reality TV star. She wasn't a star yet, but at least undefeated.
Champion.
Yeah, definitely not going to do that again.
I will never do one again. I will leave as an undefeated champion.
You know, and for people that haven't watched the Blox, first of all, I'd encourage you go watch season 18 because you really do get a sense. One of the things Monica didn't fully understand is how there really was kind of an up and down battle. You and another woman from Lubbock, if I recall, that did very, very well in the competition also. She had a dog grooming company, if I remember. So definitely go watch that. Lots of like really innovative businesses. There was one. Who was the gentleman that did the reality TV show? Like it was fantasy,
Jonah.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. So it was basically fantasy football, but for reality TV. It's
really
called
great idea.
Bracketology.tv. So if you're into fantasy football, but you want to do it for Big Brother and Survivor, then go check out Bracketology.
Yeah, and there were some really great ideas, and I'm not going to call anyone out for bad ideas, but there were certainly some that you kind of you scratch your head and you go, wow, you know what? Every business has to either succeed or fail, and who knows? I'm not the one to say that. So, what was some of the most challenging parts of the competition?
You know, the pitches they weren't necessarily difficult. You just had to figure out what was important and what was not. And so one thing Derek told me, he was like, just answer the question. Whatever they ask you, just answer it, because that's what they're counting. That's what the points are about. But I'll tell you, getting on stage in front of 120 people was with cameras all over your face.
Not only that, it's not just 120 people. 120 people who you really feel are your peers, or in some cases you may very well look up to. Like they may have bigger businesses than you, in fact.
Absolutely, yeah. But it was quite a journey.
Yeah,
sure.
No doubt. How about, there had to be some fun involved with this. What was the most fun, rewarding, memorable experience?
I mean, what they don't show in the TV show actually is how funny Wes is. He actually tells a lot of like random inappropriate comments throughout the educational side of it.
Sure.
And so there's lots of jokes involved. In fact, there's a lot of rules involved. Like one rule is that everyone has to be in their own room by midnight every night.
Okay.
And that they have people trolling the hallways to make sure that you are in fact in your room. They have cameras set up watching. And if you're not, you will be disqualified from the competition. And I can only imagine that rule came from some people doing some crazy stuff.
Came from some indiscretions for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was amazing. Obviously, winning was great. Let's give a big shout out to today's episode sponsor, Rent the Runway.
Monica's been using them for years for everything from galas to everyday work outfits.
It keeps my wardrobe new, fun, and exciting without having to commit to the same clothes forever.
With thousands of designer styles for every occasion, you can look amazing without the closet overflow.
Use the link in our show notes to get 40% off your first month and see why I love it so much.
You know, you learned a lot from this show, and it was really interesting from my perspective. You know, you would find a little time pretty much every day or night to give me a quick phone call, and some of them lasted longer. Some of them were very quick because you were mentally and physically exhausted. But what are some of the takeaways that you learned about your business during the course of 5 days of filming, right? Well, 5.5 days of filming, right?
Yeah. I would say one of the biggest things is that we use a lot of tech, because Tech Stack was one of them. And also after the show, I changed a lot of our copywriting, because a lot of our copywriting on our website was written by me, a healthcare provider.
And by copywriting, you mean the actual text,
right? The actual text on our website. And so when I read through my website, it was like, this sounds great, because I'm a healthcare provider, and it wasn't written towards the customer. And so I came home and sat down with my marketing team and rewrote the entire website. And it was all because of them. Another thing that we did is Wes talked about mitigating risk to the customer. And he talks about one of the best ways to do that is to offer a money back guarantee. And I was like, well, I can't do that in healthcare. Like, how can I offer them a service and then they tell me that they don't like me and then I have to pay them back? Like, everybody's going to take advantage of this. And Wes mentioned in the show that people will nearly double their revenue and have less than 5% of people actually take you up on that offer. I was like, you know what? Let's try it. As a small business owner, I can try it. And if it backfires on me, then I'll turn it off. I'll stop. And so I came home 3 weeks after the show. We started that money back guarantee, and we've been doing it for over a year at this point, and not one person has ever taken me up on that. But I think it allows customers to get rid of the risk. It's like,
it ruins
okay,
that barrier to entry.
You're this great, but are you really? And so, yeah.
Well, you learn some things about yourself. It's not just about your business. I think anytime that you spend that much time really focused on your skills and your business skills, you learn some things about yourself. What'd you learn, Monica?
I learned that I can deal with a lot of stress. So I think this is a great time to kind of explain actually how the game played out. And so day one, we did the talk, we did all of our pod stuff, and I got called on stage. And that was kind of like my first, maybe I can compete. And then I got on stage, and not only did I get on stage, but I finished in first place. And so one of the things on the Blox is that the people who are in the top 3 people at the end of every day wear these red shirts that say Bloxer on the back to put a target on your back, make you look real fashionable. They are not cute by any means. So the first day I win, and I'm ecstatic, right? I'm like, holy crap, I did this. And now I have this really ugly red shirt to wear, but it's okay. And then day 2 happens and I don't go on the stage, but there's the woman you mentioned earlier, Erin, who owns Tailored Tales of Luggage. She does go on stage.
Right.
Doesn't finish in the top 3. So that's part of the show, is that they only tell you of the people who go on the stage who the top 3 are.
And you don't know the scores, right?
They don't tell us the scores.
So the scores, for those of you that might watch this or have watched it, will see the scores on the screen, but in real time, you don't know the scores.
We don't know anything.
Even at the end, right?
Right. And you get points for... So in your pod, there's 12 people, right? And so the person who gets first place gets 12 points, and then second place gets 11 points. And then the top 3 consults also get an extra 3 bonus points, but that doesn't necessarily mean you were one of the top people to do your pitch. And so you never know where you sit. But by the end of day 2, I was not on stage, but Erin was on stage. But I was still in a red shirt. So I knew that I had scored well enough in day 2 to continue being in the top 3 of everybody, but I didn't make it on stage that night. And that's also the day that Evan, who's the lovely gentleman that I met at the airport who owns Acres and Oak Kitchen, he also has a red shirt on as of that night, because he was also on stage night 1. And so we go into day 3, and I'm like, well, I was on stage once. Like, if I never go up there again, it's totally fine.
Yeah, and this is kind of mirrors what our phone calls were as well. You were ecstatic day 1 because you did win, and you were emotional because getting back to kind of that sense of maybe not feeling like you should belong. Now you felt like you should belong. So or that maybe you belong. But you, at this point, my recollection of the conversation, you were not crazy about, like, you were not focused on the competition as much. You were still interested in it, but it wasn't until about this point where
this is cool.
Yeah.
But if I don't wear this red shirt tomorrow, that'll be okay, because I have a lot of luggage that I brought with me.
Yeah, but for people that don't know Monica, obviously as well as I do, I hadn't seen like the true competitive fire come out of her until about this moment.
So night 3 comes around, and they announce the people going on the stage, and I am once again going on the stage. I was like, oh, now I might actually have to try. And so not only do I go on stage, but I finish in first place.
There you go.
Again.
There you go, girl.
And so it's at this point that I'm like, oh crap.
And it was on technology too, which made me really
technology.
excited that you won that one.
It's like real at this point. And so myself, Aaron, and Evan still wearing the red shirts going into day 4. So at this point, I'm like, okay, I have to be like decent at this. Well, unfortunately, day 4 was all about raising capital, and it's something I know nothing about. I don't ever want to have to do, and so I basically made up everything I said that day. And once again, I did not go on stage, but Aaron did. So this is Aaron's 3rd time on stage. I've only been up there twice. End of the night, it's still Evan, Aaron, and myself wearing these red shirts, but I don't know where I sit in the ranking. So at this point, I realized that there is potential that I could wear this shirt for 4 days, 5 days, 4 days, all 4 days that you could possibly wear this red shirt and not finish in the top 3. Like, it's awful, right? And so every night they send us the list of your pod. And so...
And the pod is kind of the small breakout group.
Right. And so those are the people you have to compete against to get on the stage. Well, the pod assignments come out Thursday, the final 4th night. And I'll be damned, but Evan is in my pod. Love the man to death. He's amazing. Great, great dude. But I do not need to go head to head against him because we're both in red shirts and we both need to get on that stage to ensure that we finish in the top 3. And then I look at the rest of the pods and Aaron is in a pod with no one who's been on stage all week. And so I was like, oh my God, this might be the worst thing ever. I did not sleep. I was so stressed out. It was awful. But I knew I had to bring my A game. And so I did. And then the final Blox off comes and my name is announced to go on the stage. And so is Aaron's. So Aaron and I are backstage. Evan did not go because we're in the same pod. And he's also my best friend in the game, and so I'm sad that he's not up there, but I'm also ecstatic that I am because now I have a chance to it. At this point, I realize by going on the stage that night, I will finish in the top 3.
Right.
I can't figure out a way that I wouldn't.
You don't know the exact points, but kind of the math in your head, you're like, I see that.
But I've only been on stage 3 times, and this is Aaron's 4th time on stage. And I was like, crap, I have to bring it. So we all do our pitches. We don't get to see what other people do as contestants because we're not. If you're in the Blox off, you don't get to watch the other people on stage. So I have no idea what's happening. I do my thing. And then Wes comes back to the green room and he announces 4 through 9. And then spots 1, 2, 3 go on the stage. Well, he starts at 9 and goes up. And keeps not saying my name. I don't remember where Aaron was, but he called her name before mine. And I was like, yes, that's good news for me.
Right.
And I was like, maybe I'm going to go out, be top 3 again. Well, I got 4th. So I did not go out on stage, didn't know who was winning. And then we just leave, right? Yeah. And then they do 4th through 6th place. They do most investable, most valuable. And then they basically call the top 3 people onto the stage in no apparent order, which was myself, Aaron, and Evan. And then they bring out the checks. And I got the big one, all $10,000 of it.
I'm going to be mostly positive about the Blox, but I will say the way that they ended that on the show was the most anticlimactic way of announcing 3 winners. I think one of the things you definitely learned about yourself actually comes out for people that want to even just go watch, a few seconds of Monica talking episode 8 towards the end, kind of her acceptance speech. You mentioned something about belonging. Maybe you can speak a little bit about that, what that did for you. She's getting a little misty-eyed right now just thinking about it, in fact.
Yeah, it was the first time that I was truly validated as a business owner.
As a business owner, right. Yeah.
I have 3 degrees in nursing. I don't belong in this space. And it was...
But that's not true.
Really, and that's the thing is I do.
Yeah.
I now know that I do belong here and why it took me, building or winning a business competition to figure that out. But I think a lot of people suffer with imposter syndrome. And I definitely did. And
so many high functioning people do. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, it's ridiculous. But this definitely helped me to get over that. So, and it was really exciting. I got a check for $10,000.
I know. And what did you do with the $10,000? That's what's even funnier about this. Most people would plan a trip, and especially knowing Monica,
Right.
well, we already had a trip planned, I'm sure.
We did.
What did we do with it?
We painted the ceilings in the house.
Yeah,
They look great, by the way.
Monica used that as an excuse to stop me from complaining about her wanting to paint the house, because she basically funded it herself. So not basically, she did. So did you learn something from the other contestants? So I know networking was a big part of this.
Yeah, I learned, like Evan talked a lot about the franchise model, and so I was like, oh, maybe I should look at franchising. And then just learned a lot about what businesses are reproducible and scalable and which ones just aren't. Met some people with some very odd businesses, and I'm like, I'm not sure how you make that work, but best of luck to you.
Right.
I will say, I think I would have gotten more out of the Blox than I did. Not to say I didn't get a lot out of it, if I had been earlier on in my business venture. I was 5 years in at this point and already kind of figured things out, where there were a lot of people there who hadn't even launched yet. They were pre-launch. And so I feel like maybe they got a little bit more out of it. So if you're listening to this and thinking, man, I should go on it. If you are in your first baby stages, 100%.
First couple of years, yeah.
Go. I do think pre-launch might be a little soon, because trying to come up with a Facebook ad when you don't even have a website yet, that's probably backwards. But yeah, it was pretty great.
So as we look back, obviously, and you were going to pay me to say this, I guarantee. Blox season 18 winner.
Yeah,
looking back on it now, how has it impacted your business, your life? I mean, I can tell you this much. It's finally exciting to be able to talk about this publicly.
Right.
They didn't ask you to sign anything, but we also didn't want to ruin it for people.
Yeah. Yeah, I will tell you what happened is I came back and I was like, I'm amazing. Now I have to be the best business owner.
Sure.
Now that I know I belong, now I have to take over the world. So I'm going to open 5 more clinics in the next 5 years, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do it now, and I'm going to figure out how to do it. And I kind of burnt myself out pretty hardcore, to the point that I got physically ill. I still to this day remember I was in my therapy session, which interestingly, my therapist also went to the Blox. I had told her about it. She went and watched it, also found it interesting, applied to be on it, and they put her on the same season as me. She did ask if it was okay if we went on the same season. She offered to go to a different one, but it was really nice to have a familiar face there. But I was in a therapy session just breaking down sobbing, because I felt so bad and I felt so much pressure. And she was like, what just happened? I just watched you stand on a stage and kill it. And now this is what happened. And so after a lot of therapy and a lot of journaling, I had to really redefine what success meant to me. Mm-hmm. Because I know I was chasing what I thought everyone else wanted me to do. As an overachiever and people pleaser to a fault, I chase what I think other people think I should do.
Well, and that included me, 100%. So I mean, and I don't know that we have enough time to talk about this fully on this podcast, but you thought that I wanted us to become, that I wanted Impact Family Wellness to take over the world as well. Mm-hmm. When the reality was, I just wanted you and your team to be really happy. And so that kind of gets back to some of that communication about how maybe we could have been better at communicating that. But it was really stressful for you at the time. But you ended up with this moment of clarity.
100%. I realized that having 3 clinics is enough. And every time I open a clinic, it takes more of me. And the reason I opened this practice in the first place was to regain control of my time, and I was losing it. And so I finally admitted to myself that I didn't want to open any more clinics. And then I had to tell you. And I was frightened. I thought for sure you were going to be so disappointed in me. And when I told you, you said, okay. And I had this instant, elephant lifted off of me, where I was like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
He still loves me. It'll be fine. And so it was at that point that I really started to pivot what I wanted to do, and realized that if I want to take over the world, it can't be by opening 42 clinics, but that I would help other people open clinics like mine, and not in the franchise model because I don't want to be responsible for someone else's success. And so that's really what led me to write the book, and ultimately the course as well, is so that I can take over the world by getting other healthcare providers to open practices like mine.
Right. Through enablement, for sure. So if I'm listening to this right now and I'm thinking about applying, what would you tell me?
I would tell you to go watch it first.
Okay.
Because I can see there's some people, it would be so anxiety riding that it would not be worth it. We'll put in the show notes a little like 35-minute highlight reel of my experience that kind of explains it quickly. So even if you just want to go watch that, before you apply, watch the show, because you need to know what you're getting yourself into, because it is not for the faint of heart. It was absolutely exhausting. Like, I was so tired.
Yeah. Well, countless hours of filming, countless
So much.
hours of footage, I'm sure. So we don't get to see everything when we go watch the 8 or so hours of show. So is there a behind the scenes moment that sticks out to you that didn't make the cut?
Yeah, so on the final night, I've been announced as the winner, and the three of us are standing off to the side of the stage. We're not back in the audience.
Which, by the way, you haven't told people you felt like a rock star that evening.
Oh, yeah. We'll get there in a second.
Okay.
But Wes is on the stage, like, kind of wrapping it up. And he's like, hey, guys, listen, there's an after party tonight. He's like, but I'm just not feeling well. And so, I'm not sure I can come. And so I'm standing off to the side. And if you don't know me, I tend to throw humor into just about everything. And I yell out, I think there's somebody in the audience that might be able to give you some medical advice or something along those lines. And the whole place laughed, and he was like, really? And I was like, yeah, what's going on? He's like, I'm just a little nauseous. And I was like, I have some drugs for you. And so this is obviously why it was cut out, like, right? And so he finishes up, and then I actually did have anti-nausea medicine in my room. And so I randomly, I took it down because he was like, I'll be at the after party, but just don't, like, I don't feel well, so just don't come up, don't get too close. And I randomly, like, was passing him in the hallway, and I was like, hey, no, really, like, tell me how you're feeling. He's like, yeah, and told me, I was like, here, put this under your tongue. It'll make you feel better. Here's the side effects. Here's the risk and benefits. You're not allergic to anything. Like, did basically a curbside consult in the hotel hallway.
That's all. I'm sure that's the first winner that's done that for you.
You're welcome, Wes.
Yeah, so I guess favorite memory is at the after party?
I mean, standing on that stage with a check for $10,000 and calling you and Grayson.
Oh, it was so awesome.
Like, it was, I was so proud of myself.
And
which
you should have been.
Is something that
you rarely let yourself do.
Absolutely. I'm really bad at admitting that. But I will also tell you that after party, because everybody's there. Every night there was some people that would go out. I was not one of them because I was exhausted. But that last night, everybody knew who I was.
Yeah.
Even if I had not talked to those people, they all knew who I was. And I was the most famous person at that casino.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
And from our perspective, Grayson and I obviously knew what was going on. You know, we knew that the last night kind of determined if you were going to win. So we were cheering you on. Obviously, we couldn't talk to you about it, but we were just waiting for that phone call. And I remember the phone rings and obviously it shows that it's you. And I just yell, Grayson, get in here. And it was a really special moment. In fact, it was such a special moment. Sometimes those really special moments you don't remember the exact details of. I just remember the emotion more than anything.
Yeah, it was great.
So what's in your carry-on, Monica, specifically for this trip? What was in your carry-on?
Back to our recurring segment, what's in your carry-on? In this one, I didn't have a carry-on because for probably one of the first trips ever, I packed 50 pounds of clothes in my bag because I was going to be on TV. I didn't know if it was going to be hot in there or cold in there. It was August in Tulsa, so clearly it's going to be cold or hot outside, but it's also in a casino, which are typically cold, and it was freezing in there. So I took dresses and pants and sweaters and tank tops and
Shout out to Rent the Runway.
Right. Thank you, Rent the Runway. And I didn't get to wear any of them.
Yeah, you had to wear that red shirt every day.
I had to wear the damn red shirt. So much on the last day, I actually made the red shirt into a scarf during the day.
I saw a scarf, and then I saw
And then I turned
bracelet.
it into a bracelet.
I liked the scarf look. I'm not so sure I would endorse the bracelet look again.
Yeah, it was a thing, but it worked out for me.
All right, so give us a recap of the Blox, Monica, if you can put it into like 1 or 2 sentences.
I mean, it was amazing. It's a memory that I will forever have. I have some really great friends. I obviously mentioned Evan. I have a really great friend, AJ, who's a phenomenal physical therapist, and they are still some of my dear friends a year later. It also, I think, made me a better business owner just from learning about myself and learning about others all at the same time. And I mean, now I'm forever a reality TV star.
And you will always win arguments as a result of that, I'm sure.
I always pull my Duke card. And if that doesn't work, reality TV star.
We should do a whole episode on how husbands are bullied. So that leads us to, for the next episode, next time we're going to be talking about carry-on travel. For those of you that in the love business and luggage, you really are driven towards the luggage. We're going to talk about travel and why the carry-on choice is more than just a packing choice. We're going to leave that deliberately obtuse. Until next time, everyone, thank you so much for joining. Monica, once again, congratulations on season 18 winner.
Make sure you subscribe. Leave us a review. Leave us a comment about what you want to hear. And make sure you share this episode with a friend, especially if they're in the entrepreneur space. They could really benefit. And then make sure you check out our little film that we made, a little recap.
Yeah, look for it in the description show notes. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Bye.